Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is in the world you're coming to us from. Welcome to DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media universe. So glad to be hosting another episode of this award-winning show. And as I always say, we gave ourselves the award, but as I always say too, somebody has to win. It is May 29th, 2025. The title of today's show is Stablecoin Thursday. That's right. You're like, why, Tom? Why would you dedicate a whole show to stablecoins? Well, that's because Senor Pedro is not here. His picture is here, but Pedro is off at Stablecon 2025 in Manhattan. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Pedro is on site at a major conference, not Bitcoin Vegas, but a show dedicated to... Well, this volume sounds terrible. Let me know if the sound sounds terrible, anyone? Hold on, let me try to see if I can fix my audio here. Anyway, Pedro is at Stablecon 2025 here. Thanks to Nick, the organizer of Stablecon, for getting Pedro a press pass and getting him involved in what's going on. Pedro is going to call in here in a little bit and report from the show. He's going to try to have video from the show, but I don't think that'll be possible. Usually at these shows, that overwhelms the Wi-Fi for broadcasting and that type of stuff, so we'll just get a good audio audio report from Pedro. Let me get some background music going here. Currently, I still have the audio going from the kick tracks. Let's get those down. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, a short show for you today. We're just going to be going till 1 o'clock because then Pedro has got some things to do here. I'm just checking on. He should be calling in here any minute, and I'll be able to patch him through. Anyway, welcome to everyone watching the show. Welcome to you Rumblers out there. Rumble's been good to us lately. Welcome to everybody watching on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Let's get the numbers up here. Let's give everyone a big round of applause here for hitting that like button. Yeah, that's right. Here
now, yeah.
Welcome to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, my co-host Pedro Garcia calling in from Stablecon 2025 in Manhattan, New York City, in the great country of the United States of America. Pedro, what's happening, man? You got up early today to get on a train and go into the city, huh?
Yeah, I haven't gotten up at 4 o'clock in a while, so it was definitely fun. What's interesting, I think what I've really kind of gathered is that there's a lot of, as you say, excitement and humpla. Or what do you call it? Humpla? Or humpla? What do you call it?
I don't know what my various adjectives are. A lot of pomp and circumstance, or a lot of harumph.
No, it's not necessarily, not from, there you go, from. There
some humpery from.
I think one of the biggest. Yeah. So I think one of the things that I think is really interesting, it's not necessarily the idea behind it, the stable coins, but like it's what could be and what we're seeing in Washington with the with both of the legislation and the bills that are being pushed in Washington. This is one of those things that potentially could lead to major reform, hopefully within the, for example, and this, I think is a good example, within the stablecoin and also within the banking system. Basically, we all live in a fractional reserve system, right? That is not really backed by anything of importance. And the worst part behind it is as we keep going the way we're going, things basically will fall apart in a sense, right? Because we keep selling against that.
Right.
And so when I mean selling, I mean that we just keep pulling money out without backing it up with anything. And there is a portion that you do need that, right? Because the reality is that's almost how you create debt that can actually take a monetary system and deploy it and create things without having to need exactly. So for example, Elon Musk borrowed a lot of money, right? And in that borrowing of a lot of that money, it caused him to be able to build the things that he was able to build. In the same sense, we still need that. But on the back end as well, as within stablecoins, it can almost become like gold, almost like a backing of the US dollar on the back end. Whereas, like, let's say that people decide they no longer want to use the USD, but they want to use stable coins to back that up. Well, you be able to have both systems that rely on itself. And so it's just really interesting to hear a lot. I don't know why that is just, what is it? I'm like, what is?
It's always backwards what you think.
Yeah. So I'm glad I look like I just gained 30 pounds.
I thought you were gonna. I thought you looked quite svelte today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You got shaved up there. You're looking professional. You got a collared shirt on.
Yeah,
you're a businessman. Well, before you get into the guts of the workings and the theory behind it, tell us, what is Stablecon, the show? Is it a big show compared to the ones we've gone to? Is it panel discussions? Is it one room? Are there trade show booths? Are there people walking around? What's going on there?
I would say it's really just panels, people talking. There's really not there's not setups where you can go and talk to people. It's really just people coming and talking about the ideas of what stablecoins can do, the effects of it, the hurdles of it. From an actual standpoint of being able to network, everybody is wanting to network. I mean, I was able to connect and talk with Circle's VP of America, right? Of the U.S. branches, the Americas branches. And so talking with him I kind of was talking to him about really like the inefficiency of some of the things that correlate with Circle. And I said, listen, not that I'm doing it, but you can take efficiency of buying it at a low price when it sells off to 95 cents, and you can sell it off at 103, 104. I mean, that just happened last month. And so we're talking, that's a substantial, that's 8% a month that you can actually correlate and be very safe. I said, what is to stop that from a nefarious entity and basically reestablishing another Terra Luna USDT situation, right? And all of a sudden you have this Circle situation, and now it's connected with the stock.
Right.
And since now he was open to talk and actually hear potential situations, and he looks at me and he's just like, oh shoot, and he goes, well, there are people who definitely thought that through. And I'm like, of course you've got to say that.
That's a big circle. That is literally in the literal sense of the world, not the name. That they're going to go talk to those people and say, "Did you think of it? Oh no, those guys thought of it." And then, "Did you think of it? No, these guys." And then you comes right around and oh wait, I'm supposed to think about it. Yeah, next 2 minutes later is when the hacker strikes.
Yeah, and so I think, and I said, listen, as of right now, I don't think there's enough. But you're at such a small market cap right now. I mean, you're not the USD that trades trillions of dollars. So it's hard to take a market from that. But as you grow in your market cap, if I was China, or if I was India, I would definitely be buying USDT. I would definitely be buying USDC. And in a nefarious way, where I have millions of bots that have VPNs set up in a way where you wouldn't even know what's happening before it actually happens. So just these ideas that they're actually kind of bringing up, and you can talk to these people saying, look, and they're very open, man. I'm always shocked when you come here how open they are and to be able to communicate and talk.
Right.
I spoke with one woman. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, right. I'm always amazed how much they want to talk.
Yeah. Or, I mean, not true.
Oh, I see. You needed a time for a bite. Well, Pedro, my experience at these shows has been when you talk to people on online, and when you talk to people in just random places. They're cagey with their business. And this
Yes.
this is in every industry. And then when you get to a trade show, people are like, hey, here are our secrets. You know, like, hey.
Literally.
And because they want to brag and they want to be cool and they want to look like they're the top game and the top dog in the room, so they talk too much and they tell stories about what they're working on, and they're like, well, you know, don't tell anyone, but, you know, we just this and stuff. And meanwhile, like, I just met you. Of course I'm going to tell someone, you know? You know?
Yeah.
So those are it's a great place to network, and I hope you get some good
Definitely.
contacts out of it. And when you're done with your bite here, I'm going to ask you to talk about the panels that you've sat in, or not, maybe not analyze, but at least describe. And I'm asking you this because Stablecon was very nice to give us press passes to the show, and so as you can see, I've got their logo up here, telling everybody that it's something that you should look into next year.
Absolutely.
As far as either attending or sponsoring the show, and get a hold of Nick at Stablecon. Their information is in the body of wherever you're watching this.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I think to talk about as I know stablecoins sound, and they said we want stablecoins to be boring. It was one of the panelists. It was Helena. I forget her last name. And you also had a commissioner from MT. What's MT? Not Massachusetts. What's the state of MT?
Montana.
Wow, my brain was just in there. Yeah, and she's a commissioner. And she was talking about how in each state, and I found this really interesting. Banks have their own jargon, and then you also have the national side to elaborate and define what a bank is. And in crypto, they're trying to set this up with the new legislations, and how do we define this, and how do we go through with the legislator, right? We can vote it into office, but how's it going to be defined? And if they're going to be defined incorrectly, it actually do more harm for the industry. So it's really interesting to hear. That was one that I really enjoyed, and to hear some people arguing. There was another one, and listen, we all know crypto people are feisty. We are contrarian just by nature because we're in crypto. And what's so interesting is to see you have these contrarian people that are very much for something, but also they point out other inconsistencies, but yet they're still together and they're fighting for this thing. The other view I also loved about is they were talking about CBDCs and how Europe through MiCA is really trying to almost come on like a heavy-handed way, right? And again, as they say, innovation goes to Europe to what?
Die.
And so it's interesting to hear them talk about that and work around the legislators over in Europe, and especially in with the legislation. And then also how America is crafting a system that is very much hands off, right? And it's definitely a stable coin system here versus over there. It's the BD system. It's more where they're leaning. And to see how they're saying how they're going to need to work between and juxtapose systems or developing systems. Yeah. Or I forget the right word they were using. But they're just and to play between, because ultimately it's the freedom of money is what people want. And the freedom to be able to create a life what they want. And then I think that's what we're seeing here today. That's kind of walking that out, talking things out, and they're great panel. I'm really enjoying it here. Really enjoying it.
Well, the speaker list is pretty impressive. I'm going through it. It's scrolling through the background as we're talking here. I mean, the either the heads or the C-level executives from a number of companies. Everything from like a company that's just launched the first MiCA compliant wallet in Europe, which wallets have traditionally been viewers of the blockchain, and Europe redefined a wallet as something that's actually a custodial device, and it holds stuff even though it doesn't. So the people have to comply with the laws there. With basically they're moving towards KYCing for every wallet. They're not there yet, but it won't be long. And then companies like Visa, Coinbase, Citi.
Oh, MasterCard. I spoke with one of the top guys over at MasterCard. And that so I found out that they're actually really pushing to create their own stable coin.
Of course, everyone is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so they're talking, and as I was talking to them, again, I posed the question with, you have a debt system that is where you guys make money on debt. And this is, and there are trillions of dollars that, or not trillions, but billions of dollars right now that are flowing through stable coins that really, I don't have to worry about fees, right? Especially like if I'm a multi-millionaire, if not a billionaire, and I want to transfer, let's say, $1 billion. Well, I don't have to worry about you taking out $30 million out of that $1 billion, right? Or if not more, right? Like, 10 million or, excuse me, like 100 million. If I want it to expedite it, I go, how are you going to get around that? And what are going to be some of the things they're going to establish to allow, because remember, your system is based off of creating debt.
Right.
So, how are you going to handle that? And we got in a great discussion. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to bring that up to he said, I'm going to bring that up into the system. And then I said, yeah, that's some of the things you want to look at. But I agree. I think it needs to happen. I think you do need to create a stable coin, but make sure it's backed by real dollars, not by debt. Because we're trying to stay.
These guys weren't ready for Pedro. They weren't ready for Pedro. But Pedro, you make a good point there about that. They can do stable coins two ways without it being algorithmically. Because they're just not going to allow that. They're just going to say, no, that's not going to happen. If you're going to back it on the U.S. dollar, it needs to have some kind of oomph behind it. And if it's not backed by the U.S. dollar and you just back it by crap, Zimbabwe's, then, whatever. That's the market to decide. But if you're going to back it on the U.S. dollar and operate on U.S. soil, you can do it two ways. You can back it by, audited reserves of U.S. dollars or liquid equivalents and that type of stuff. Or you can back it by things that are not, dollars, but they're dollar-based, like debt packages. Ultimately, you can package debt and sell it, and it's worth something on a market, on a derivative market. And it never leads to anything good. The whole mortgage crisis started.
Every time.
It's like it's working great. Everyone's making fat bank, and then all of a sudden something happens.
It's a CLO, basically. It's really what it is. It's an MBS and a CLO that you're really trying to sit there and establish some type of debt-based system that backs, because it gives a dividend that backs that product. And this is the biggest issue that we're seeing with our current system. With stablecoin, you actually have to back that coin. And so these are the conversations they're actually talking about. Like, all right, do we back a USD, right? Do we back with USD? Well, I say yes, because it strengthens the dollar. But also, why not gold? We already know that, Tether through Letnick literally set up and has set up a way that he's backing US Tether for a 1-to-1. I honestly think you should have a 1.5 to 1. I know that sounds crazy, but the reality is let's say the market drops 50%. Let's think, and again, we've seen this in history, right? We saw this in 2000. We saw this in 2008, right? We've seen this during the Great Depression, where a market falls 50%. So this is why I sit there and say, if we're going to back it by something, it needs to be backed by a 1.5 to, if not 2.0, so that in case of a drop in the market, something in which we see a catastrophe happen, a World War III happens, whatever it be, there's substantiated value behind it, in which the world will sit there and go, okay, great. And I think we should use stable coins, but make sure that it is backed. If it is a derivative that can move, or if it is a product that can move in value, it needs to be backed by more. And then hence, it brings stability right back to the US dollar again.
Absolutely. 100%. Pedro, on the topic of MasterCard and the questions you asked them, at 1 o'clock on stage 2 or whatever, room 2, however it is, how stablecoins and on-chain settlements are disrupting and improving traditional card payments. Here's a great way. This is a great thing to talk about. Say, all right, you guys, if they have a question and answer session, you should ask these guys the same questions.
They're not.
Oh, this is more softball type stuff.
Yeah. But the people who are up there are bringing up real questions, though, and I find this really interesting. The panelists are even like, if the moderator isn't really doing a good job moderating, like Helen, why am I forgetting her last name? Helene, whatever reason, I can't remember her name. But she actually took hold of the, she became the moderator, said, listen, I'm going to take over this because we're dancing around this and we need to talk to the real issue. And you had a really great discourse between a few of the panelists really talking about things that needed to be talked about. And I thought to myself, how brilliant is this? Absolutely brilliant. And watching her handle that and watching her go through and interact with the people, I found absolutely amazing.
Well, and, see if you can run her down and say, hey, why don't you be a guest on our show?
I did. I tried to. She's like, well, let me ask you, are you guys at all controversial? And I go, kinda, yeah. And she's like, I'm probably not going to be able to come on it, at least for now.
No. Your level of controversial is different. We are not controversial at all. We're just crypto, digital assets reporting. Occasionally we talk about policy and China and that type of stuff. But controversial, she's thinking, the right-wing nut jobs and the left-wing nut jobs and that type of stuff.
No, we're totally not that. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I should
go find her and say, hey, talk to another producer at the show and say, no, in context, we are reporting about digital finances and all that type of stuff. Here's our shows. Okay. We've had Kate LeLong on our show. We're having Lucas Matheson of Coinbase on our show here.
That's what I'll do, and that's my bad. I always try to be as open and honest as possible. I'm so sorry, guys.
We're not, but compared to like some of these other guys out there, yo, bro, motherfuckers.
Yeah, we're not that. Yeah, absolutely not. We're not a yo, bro. We're policy and crypto innovative show. So, and I'll start saying that from now on. That was my bad. Maybe. So I asked her. She absolutely. We clicked like Legos. So it was actually really cool. I think one of the things I'm stepping away with more than anything is that I am watching, and I think this is beautiful, real thoughts. These people are leaders. These people are people that are really conscious of developing something for the future and not just trying to get rich, but they're really saying, okay, this right here worked. This didn't work. And they really, every developer, every single coin here that is creating like USD, some equivalent of the USD, is really consciously trying to make sure that they're not trying to get over on people, but they're laying the framework and they've got a 5-10 year view out. And I look at that and I'm like, that is beautiful and it's amazing. Because watching that and seeing the intention behind this actually really makes me feel good. Like, we've talked about the stablecoins now for a while. And I think on Tuesday, we were really talking about it hard with Chris.
Yep.
But watching this and seeing the intention behind it and the thought process. And I hope they take some of my stuff and go, we didn't think about that. You know what? Or hopefully they go, we did think about that. Don't worry. We actually have these safeguards in front. One thing that was cool about with Circle is when I was speaking with him, he made a comment and he said, and I thought his name is Spencer. So I was like, what's up, Spence? And he's like, Spencer. I was like, my bad, Spencer. Right? But I said, these are these circumstances I'm concerned about with the stablecoin industry and what's actually happening. And he looks at me and he's just like, well, I've written a few, I wouldn't call booklets, but with the help of my other business partner, Ralphie, right? Where we proposed a full-on letter, 25-page letter to Mr. Sethra, who did distribute that. And part of that was a big portion of stable coins and actually how to balance and how to work with AI in relationship to that. And so what was interesting is, as I was speaking with Spencer, he literally said, and I thought this was so interesting, he goes, oh yeah, we were actually part of that, part of the legislation for that as well. And the fact that they're working like hand in hand with Congress not advising them almost, but in a sense, like, well, yes, they're advising, but it's really conscious. They're really conscious on making sure that the nuances are being looked at. And that does make me happy about the two bills that are looking to be passed here. So, for the life of me, I can't remember what they are, but I think it's not Genesis.
The Stable Act and the Genius Act.
Yeah, the Stable Act and the Genius Act. So it's one of those things that it's cool to sit there and say, this is what we're doing. And not only that is our hands off, but now we're still involved. And it's kind of exciting. It really is.
Quickly inserting, welcome Jerry Molinari to the show, and he says, wow, Pedro in a button-down shirt and clean-shaven. What's the world coming to? Jerry, Pedro's at Stablecon 2025 in Manhattan today, reporting on the comings and goings of the stablecoin industry, and not just the stablecoin industry, but the things that go around it, like wallets and all that. So he's there reporting live from the show during the lunch hour. Pedro, probably one question that I have about the stablecoin industry, and maybe you might be able to flesh this out with someone, is that I've seen that we have a conundrum in with stablecoins, in that the U.S. government at the current moment still treats them like property, meaning that literally every time you pay with somebody with a stablecoin, that's actually a taxable transaction. You bought it, at 0.9999 cents and sold it at 0.9998 cents. And it's that applies to all of crypto, but stable coins, they still treat it as property. And I'm hoping that I haven't read through Stable or Genius Act. I'm hoping they give a tax break to that, to say these are equivalent to the dollar. And I was saying, well, we need to call them currencies. However, there's a thing in the U.S. Constitution that says only the government can issue a currency.
Right.
Something in these laws need to say, this is not a currency, but we're going to treat it like a currency. Wink, 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 that type of stuff. Because there's no way they're going to get, anyone to change the Constitution, nor would we want anyone to. So if you've heard anything about that, or put that on your little notepad of things to ask
actually
around.
I will. I'm actually going to go through and really kind of pose that question as well, because the idea, and I've even brought this up with many of our viewers, I've said you can gain 5 to 10% off of just exploiting the nuances between a USDT or a UST as it goes down or up, based off of what is actually happening. So that movement behind what we're doing, I think, would be in that level, it needs to be considered some type of asset of gain, right? But in the sense, like, if you buy it at parity or close to parity, well, then you need to make sure then that it is considered either an exchange of value, but not necessarily a taxable event.
Right.
Again, there are these nuances, because we do see a fluctuation between the stable coins, right? They're not as stable as we would like them to be. So there's and that's where we got to kind of work through and see how that works out ultimately.
On the screen, I keep hitting the wrong screen. On the screen behind me, there's a lady by the name of Lindsay Argalas. She's the CEO of a company called TaxBit. I don't know if you can see the screen, and I'm sure the picture is 10 or 15 years.
Send me, if you want me to go connect with her, go through, reach out to her on the app that you're on and say, my constituent, who I work with, I would love for you to set, and we can actually set together and actually, I use actually a lot, where I can interview her and talk with her, actually. So, yes.
You know what?
If you want me to,
since I wasn't going to go to the show, I didn't get on the scheduling app.
Okay, I got you.
I put it out of my mind, and I'd forgotten. I should have, because then I could have done this all for you while you're running around.
You so could have. Actually, I think you still can, because you can go through, you can call up our networker or the person who set us up and say, hey, I've got my guy there. I need to schedule times for him while he's running on. Nick. So I need you to reach out to Nick, say, hey, Nick, I'm going to need this, this, and this. And then from there, you can do it. And then you just say, hey, you have a
he's
meeting
running
with
the whole
so-and-so.
show. He's a little busy.
Oh, you were right. So I'll reach out to Nick and see.
I'll see if I
He's
can get
probably
the
in
app. I'll see if I can get the app downloaded or whatever here.
Yeah. Because like I said, it's really hard, especially if you ask them to do it. And everybody knows, listen, go on the app and set it up. And so I'm like, okay, great. But then at the same time, I'm sitting there looking at, the CEO of Optos, right? And I'm like, oh, my ADD. So it's like, do I sit there and do this? So it'd be great if you could do that as well. That could help me immensely. Right. And there are also a few other gems that I've kind of picked up with, and I'm going to share it tomorrow, of people who I was like, you're creating a stable coin? Woo! Right? So, so that's really interesting. Oh, one of them was, I already talked about MasterCard, but I gave that one away. But yeah, I think it was really interesting. Well, it is starting, it's going to start back around 1 o'clock. So, and I've got to kind of freshen up and look all pretty. So.
All right, got one thing to handle before you go, Pedro. It's one of those awesome things that happens. I'm not sure you'll be able to hear it, but we got a super chat.
Yay, super chat. Is it a ranch?
Thank you, Jerry Molinari, for sending us 5 of your hard-earned dollars. As I always say, it's nothing better than having someone like you take the money out of your pocket and put it in Pedro and I's wallets. Thank you very much for that. But it also shows the algorithm that something good is going on here and that it's worthy of having people pay to see our content. So, Jerry, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Every donation goes to bettering the channel and getting us close to that big trip to Ibiza.
Oh, I love it.
All right.
Thank you again, Tom. I appreciate it.
All right, Pedro, enjoy the show. And we'll check in with you, and we'll see you tomorrow for tomorrow's show.
A little wrap up.
All right,
brother. Talk to you soon. Many blessings.
Later.
Right, bye. Later.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst, reporting from Stablecon 2025. While we can talk all day about Pedro's visit there, we did have, the theme of the show is stable coins. Not that massive a topic for our viewers. It's a little different, but the show is very nice of us to give us a free press pass. And along with those lines, they say, hey, you got to promote us. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. But it's always a good time when you get the in these smaller shows, that larger, I shouldn't say the larger, the CEO, the larger people, the higher up people in these companies, and get them in front of someone like Pedro, who just asks them the hard questions that they're just not ready to answer. I do enjoy that. But anyway, let's get to the comings and goings. Things I wanted to talk about here in the stablecoin industry. If you're paying attention to that industry, Hong Kong is now coming on board and passing bills to regulate and license them and all that type of stuff. And if you guys watch the comings and goings of the Bitcoin Las Vegas event yesterday, Vice President J.D. Vance gave a speech. If you recall, last year, presidential candidate Donald Trump gave a speech there, and it was a big deal, big deal. And at this time, Bitcoin 2025 in Las Vegas, Vice President Vance promoted the Genius Act to propose stablecoin legislation, stating that stablecoins strengthen the U.S. dollar's economic might rather than threaten it. Man, if you can only, I could just imagine Elizabeth Warren waking up and that everything she worked for the past 10 years has just been thrown out. Just thrown out with the bathwaters. Boop, gone. Why is this important? This reflects a major shift in U.S. policy towards embracing stablecoins, potentially impacting global markets. It's a timely story. That's right, it's a timely story. Also, Circle is doing their IPO. Let's see, aiming to raise up to 6.7 billion. I still don't understand. The math isn't working out for me, and I know they have the smartest people on the planet working on these things, but it's not working out for me. They have $60 billion in assets in cash or cash equivalents, and they're selling that for 6.7 billion. I don't understand it. Maybe they're only selling 10% of the company's shares. Good point, Tom. Just thought of that. This is what Pedro was talking about at the show here. Banks are, let's see. In fact, it's from the keynote speaker at the conference Pedro was at. The guy from Fireblocks claiming that 90% of banks are launching stable coins driven by the need for cross-border fast payments, blah, blah, blah. They don't want to rely on SWIFT because SWIFT keeps stealing, taking all their monies, and the settlement time is too long. If you can have instant settlement, it works a lot better. Things work faster. Obviously Ripple has been working on this for years, that type of stuff. So they're well ahead of the curve. But as I always tell everybody, let's remember that before there was one currency in the United States, what was there? There was lots of currencies and issued by banks, financial institutions, even wealthy syndicates of wealthy people would get together and put out a currency based on their assets. And the exchange market was a disaster. Disaster, rife with fraud, failures. The same types of people existed back then as they do now, lie, cheat, and steal. And the same things happen with all these companies establishing their own stable coins. There has to be a medium of exchange that's trusted and very, very secure and essentially trusted by the entire market. And so if you can take MasterCard's stablecoin and trade it for Visa stablecoin, trade for JP Morgan stablecoin, and there's just a giant market for all these things, and they're all, you can trade them in without big fees coming out, there's 2% charge to do that, and if you present this card, it's only 1.75, but you get frequent flyer points, so it's 2.5%. Then that's not going to work. It's not going to work. If it's like Uniswap, but gas fees are not with the same as Ethereum, if it's like Uniswap, but the gas fees are like 1/10 of what they are on Solana or Matic or something, or one of the cheap, who's super cheap? Base, I guess Base is super cheap. Whatever, just, if they're ultra cheap and so the fees are so inconsequential, people don't think about it when they pay someone $1 million or $2, then it'll work fine. But is that what these banks and companies want? Do they want people to be able to trade their stablecoin? Does MasterCard want their coin swapped for Visa? It'll instantly become a voting mechanism on the strength of one company over another. And it'll also promote, oh yeah, this is a quagmire. I'm just thinking about it, that if people are trading it, it'll put buy and sell pressure on, and then companies will have to support their stablecoin to maintain a peg to the US dollar. That's gonna distract. See, this is a whole nother week. We should have a panel discussion on that. This is gonna distract companies from their primary purpose. And their primary purpose is what, the main thing they do, the main thing they sell. MasterCard's main purpose is earning money selling debt. Or selling you access to debt, I should say. That's what they do. They're not a payment. They're like, oh, we're a payments company. No, they're not. They issue a credit line, and they allow you to draw from that. But if it's a debit card, MasterCard, they own a bunch of the processors. Not too many. A lot of the people in the middle are not MasterCard. It's First Data and other type of stuff. They make a little vig on it every transaction. Those debit card fees you pay, they charge you. This will be really interesting. Very, very interesting to see how this shapes up. I know it's a kind of a niche topic here, but it's ultimately going to affect the whole economy of the United States. All right, let me find the comment section here, see what's going on here. Jerry says, got a bounce sitting in a waiting room at the doctor's office. He's not mining fiat, he is mining health. Thanks, Jerry, really appreciate it. Everyone watching on X, thank you very much. Let's get, let's see, where is it? Here's this comment. Well, welcome everybody. Please comment, like, subscribe, follow. Just do it. We always say here, just do it. Anyway, I'm going to forward this to Pedro. Do, 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 do. Property or currency? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to switch over to Bitcoin in the markets here for the last few minutes of the show here, and just a drubbing, absolute drubbing that's going on in the markets. Let me get the right. I don't know why Pedro's still up there. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, what we have here is the Bitcoin today, and I got to tell you, what a stinker as it's been. Unless, of course, you were short. We started the day this morning. And 108.840. I've been in a demo trade in which we practice mitigating losses, and I was actually right about ready to close it out, and I had mitigated my loss from when I got into a trade at 110,000, and it came down to all the way down to 106. Worked on some mitigating strategies. Basically, when in the middle of your loss, you buy and sell, and you add more margin. This is using futures, obviously. And then the market just decided to tank this morning. I was actually listening to Bloomberg this morning, and Bloomberg was talking about how the unemployment claims came in as expected, and the jobs and all that type of stuff. And so we wouldn't see any heavy market movements from that. And I took that as positive news. And it wasn't correct at all. They reported it incorrectly, that the unemployment claims it was bad news. So the market absolutely tanked. The NASDAQ here, session disconnected. You don't see this often in the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ tanked from its high this morning to its lowest point of 540 points. A 540 point move in NASDAQ is a lot. I mean, 10% of the NASDAQ right now would be a 2,000 point move. So if it's a 2.5% move in the NASDAQ this morning, that's a lot. That's a lot. And if you zoom out on the chart here, you don't see dumps that big that often without an immediate recovery. Based on some bad news and that type of stuff. And as we all know, Bitcoin's been tracking the NASDAQ lately, and you can see here, Bitcoin did almost exactly the same thing. Followed the market all the way up to 108. Oops, why didn't that drop? What's going on with my? Dropped 2,500 points. $2,500 it dropped. Between let's see, 7:30 and what time is that? And 10:15 this morning, and it's on its way down again. Not good news at all here. As Pedro's been saying, it's going to come down further. I'm not going to go into the long-term dissertation about Bitcoin today because we have a shorter show. But be wary of the downside. I just don't understand. The market isn't doing things correctly today. The tariffs were lifted. The courts are lifting the emergency tariffs. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ pumped on it. And that is a massive, massive news for the economy. And then the unemployment claims, which are every month, all the time. And they weren't even that bad. Totally tanked the market and are causing Bitcoin, NASDAQ, and Bitcoin, something going on outside, to absolutely plummet. And normally on these things, we see a rebound. And if you could see here on the chart, there actually was one this morning right here. It tanked, it came all the way down, and then it started going up. Everyone's like, all right, we're gonna have a money printer going here. Everything's gonna be good. Come back. The market's gonna recover, and they're not. And they're not. Tanking. Just tank on good news, tanks on bad news. Anyway, we'll see how that plays out through the day. The NASDAQ just flummoxes me. Well, it's been coming up over the past hour or so. I guess it came up while Pedro was talking. See, one of the other things before we finish up today here. Oh yeah, yesterday I was reporting. In fact, the past couple of days I was reporting on the Italian fellow who came over to New York City, just conveniently just down the street from where Pedro is now, to meet two business partners who he met on the internet in the crypto industry. And they immediately kidnapped him and put him up in the upstairs of their townhome and started torturing him to get his Bitcoin seed phrase, or not seed phrase, Bitcoin wallet password, and to steal his Bitcoin. For weeks, the guy was the family in Italy was calling saying, hey, our guy showed up and he disappeared. Police are like, it's a big country. You know, people do that every day here. They come here and they disappear and they show up months later. Not much we can do. But after a couple of weeks, the guy managed to escape. And I don't know the details of it, but he escaped. And there's a video out of him running up to a police officer on the street in bare feet and shorts. And he, unfortunately, ran up, found a meter maid. I shouldn't say a meter maid, but a parking enforcement officer. And they don't have radios and stuff like that. He starts pointing out, like, maybe there's a cop over there, or, you know, something like that. Anyway, the police came quickly and arrested the guys. In this headline, and I've been talking about this for a while now, is the wrench attack. And the wrench attack is well, I'll put the cartoon up. This cartoon here, it epitomizes security for the techno nerds. It's a two-panel cartoon. The first one says, "A crypto nerd's imagination." It's the police or somebody trying to steal his information. His laptop's encrypted. Let's build a multi-million-dollar cluster to crack it. Oh no, it's 4096-bit RSA. Not crackable. And the other guy goes, blast, our evil plan is foiled. And then in real life, what would actually happen? Hey man, his laptop's corrected. Drug him and hit him with this $5 wrench until he tells us the password. Got it. And that's what happens, you know. That's what happens all over the world with getting information out of people. Like, it's very famous, the IRA. They just look, they put the gun to the knee and say, "Do you want to talk or do you want to be a cripple your whole life?" And they usually the people are like, Suddenly my tongue is working. That's how it works in real life, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are if you're someone that has a lot of money in Bitcoin and that type of stuff, you're almost to that point now where you need to use a custody service that just will not let you have your own money when you want it. A lot of the custody services, have locking features in which you can even lock them yourself and say, sorry, it's locked until, whatever day. Or it only is open, once a month for an hour. And you have to get like an office, approvals, just like a bank, just like wealthy people in banks. They don't have all their money in their pockets. They don't have instant access to transfer billions of dollars. To call their banker and they say, this is what I'm doing. And the banker confirms that it's them. They're not under duress, all this type of stuff. And even if they have online, if it's a significant transaction, they still have human intervention to say, wait a minute, we're going to make a phone call, make sure this is all good. Let's see what's going on here. A light show today. Realize the title of it, stablecoins. People are like, harumph. I don't want to spend my time doing that. What is going on outside? There's a giant fan or something whose bearing is about to go outside. There's a huge construction site right over here, building a 30-story skyscraper or something like this. Well, 30 stories is not a skyscraper. 30-story condo building. Anyway, where was the this other story I wanted to talk about here today? Circle. Nope. We already talked about that. And we talked about the banks. MasterCard to roll out new stablecoin cards in the latest crypto push with MoonPay. Stablecoin powered cards, enabling users and business to make and receive payments in stablecoins worldwide. Pedro talked about that. Visa bet on that too. All right, that's enough of that stuff. Still though, why is the market? NVIDIA lifts NASDAQ. Yeah, let me show you NASDAQ. This is NASDAQ. I don't know what they're talking about. NVIDIA lifts NASDAQ. I don't see any other bad news here. Kramer rips Starbucks downgrade, argues why investors should stay in the struggling stock. That's your key to sell that. Here's 2 reasons to sell Starbucks. Kramer is saying it's going to go up and be better. And 2, Starbucks, their coffee sucks. Sorry. If you like Starbucks coffee, you like cheap, bitter, crappy coffee. All right, let's finish this off with Bitcoin. Bitcoin just sitting down here at 106,600 and some odd dollars. My demo mitigation not going so well. The NASDAQ also looking like it's just going to spend the day doing doodly squat. Hopefully we'll have some bit of good news later in the day to help us out here. I didn't realize my screen share was off like that. Let's see, where is my great Bitcoin price machine? Let's run through the prices of the various top things. See if they're performing as well as let's see, as I say, Bitcoin down like this. Let's see, Ethereum, let's check on ETH. ETH was an amazing thing. Yesterday, I swear to God, some guys are just really good at this. Like Crypto Lifer. Sam is just the expert at this. Yesterday, out of the blue, my Discord button rings. Bing! And there's a flash saying, hey, ETH is about to go. And the reason, there's this triangle here. And I said to myself, I'm like, I'm looking at it, I'm evaluating, I'm learning this stuff, remember? By spend no more than 40 seconds looking for, I'll have to do something else. And I come and I sit back down here, and it just started pumping already. Maybe it was more than 40 seconds, obviously a few minutes. And it ran right up here. It ran from 26.35 right up to 27.87. Ethereum it moved that fast, which is rare. And then came back down. I didn't take advantage of either one. I should have bought it because the market was saying it was good. There were some divergences in here that I'm not going to go into too, but it was a valid call. Or I shouldn't say a call. I should say Sam told you what the TA for the chart was doing. And it happened just happens like clockwork for him. It's just amazing. Wow, Bitcoin is dumping again. Let's see, let's go back to Bitcoin. Usually it's been following the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is not dumping, so why is Bitcoin dumping now? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful. Let me check the comment section real quick before I get going here. Chuck Jansen, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. It's just me today. Pedro's at a conference. He was just reporting from the conference today. So I will, let's see. So, Doc, using the whole fist there?
You using the whole fist, Doc?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Even my feed went bye-bye. Strange. Just a second here, I'm checking on DYOR. Anyway, Chuck, thanks for joining the show. Appreciate it. Powering up for that. That's right. Anyway, as I was saying, Pedro is at the Stablecon 2025 in Manhattan. He called in earlier and reported from the show, talking all about the comings and goings of that. But I said I was going to be on the air from 12 to 1, and it is past 1 o'clock. So let's get the outro music going. Ladies and gentlemen, Pedro will be back with us tomorrow. We'll be back at the crib at the Eastern headquarters of DYOR Live. We're watching Bitcoin right now. We're watching, in fact, we're really watching the NASDAQ here, see which way it's going to go. If the NASDAQ dumps now while Bitcoin is weak, Bitcoin is going to be absolutely eviscerated. Not a good situation at all. But anyway, we're going to finish up the show here today. Thanks to everyone that had a watch. Also, there's been a lot, for those of you that are new to the show or just tuning in, there's a lot of new Crypto Swamp Creature episodes out in the DYOR Media, both in Rumble, actually on all the platforms, in Rumble and Twitter. But YouTube, there's a playlist. Rumble, it's just in our history of live shows. The Crypto Swamp Creature show by Chris Alexander and Justin Wallin, talking about all types of politics, or issues with politics and crypto and the digital asset industry. Everything from Bo Hines being Donald Trump's Digital Advocacy Council chairman and doing a great job, to the differences between the Stablecon Act, the Stable Act, and the Genius Act. And of course, a very good episode, their most recent one, is about Polymarket and how Polymarket beats the pollsters and can predict almost any election, or pretty much any topic, so long as that there's a wide enough, a large enough sample. And I don't mean in sports. I mean, it does a good job in sports, but sports is a lot more randomness. Things that people vote on where they have their minds made up, generally that follows that they put their money where their minds are. And that's so, but ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for you today. Pedro and I will see you tomorrow. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, as I always say, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media universe. So glad to have hosted another great show today. Thanks to Pedro Garcia for trolloping all the way into Manhattan today to attend the Stablecon 2025. Thanks to Nick, the organizer of the show, for giving Pedro a press pass and getting them on the list to interview people. Makes a big difference for small channels like us. Nick, thank you very much. Anyway, for the rest of you, we'll see all of you, as I always like to say, we will see you guys tomorrow. Where's my... We'll see you tomorrow.